Hello everyone and welcome back to Backlot Banter. My name is Tucker Hazel and this is my rip-roaring quick co-host Tanner Dykstra. We're here to talk about F1, the new racing movie starring Brad Pitt from Joseph Kosinski, the director of Top Gun Maverick, which is one of Tanner's favorite movies of all time, one of my favorite movies of all time, one of the box office's favorite movies of all time, and he's following it up here with F1, another movie about quick vehicles, Tanner. You ready to talk about F1?
Tucker, I think I am strapped in sufficiently. Let's talk F1, the movie.
Oh yeah,
F1,
that
the
is true.
movie.
Yeah, but you know we're gonna save a little time here. We're gonna save everyone's effort and energy, and we're just gonna call it F1.
That's right, baby. So Tucker, usually you ask, hey, what do I think? So I'm just gonna assume that's what that was implied.
It's implied.
And tell you,
yeah.
and tell you my
it's
thoughts
okay.
on the
It's only been
F1.
4 years of doing this. I think we know how it works.
Tucker, F1 is a fucking great time at the movies, baby. You know, people have this phrase they like to reiterate every time, like a big blockbuster movie comes out. When they say, "See it big, see it loud." And
Sure.
to me, F1 is exactly that kind of movie. One of the movies in a long time that I feel like really necessitates see it big, see it loud.
Sure.
Maybe even since Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Because
Screw Dune.
I mean, we know. Exactly. Well, yeah.
Screw Oppenheimer.
Fuck those movies.
Well, I was trying to not use some hard language here, but you know.
My mistake. Tucker.
This is a family-friendly channel.
This is it's a fucking great time. Brad Pitt is absolutely locked in. I mean, it is essential, like kind of old guy coming in and shooting the young guns straight and everything like that kind of movie. And then like the racing stuff is incredible. Like the only thing I was really apprehensive about with F1 was like, you know, F1 is a very popular sport globally, but not something that I find myself particularly caring about. How are they going to make these races sort of impressive and engaging to me? And especially when they set up at the beginning that when they set up in the story basically that like, all right, we got 9 races to do before the end of the movie. And I was like, Jesus, 9 races? That's going to be a lot of racing. Yeah. But I think the real feat of F1, or F1 the movie if you're nasty, is making those races really engaging through the character writing of Brad Pitt's character, Sonny Hayes, and how he finagles and sort of like halfway cheats his way to making sure the team succeeds. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, no, I feel similarly. I think this is an excellent movie. I think it is a feat of filmmaking and shows that, especially in an interesting modern blockbuster landscape, it takes a unique hand like Joseph Kosinski to really feel like you're experiencing something new. I mean, we've gotten a couple of racing tangential movies in the last few years.
Yeah.
Ferrari was kind of that. Ford versus Ferrari was kind of that.
Biopic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ford versus Ferrari, I would say probably maybe the closest to this in terms of like aesthetic and like mood and everything like that. It's cool, it's slick, but also is concerned with doing a little bit of the biopic thing.
Correct, yeah. But this, it works for great. I mean, it's a great movie. What I was most impressed by is how understandable F1 was to me, and especially as someone who, frankly, doesn't really understand the appeal of racing. One thing I consistently think about when I think about the concept of someone enjoying racing is if you're going to the track, you are going to actually see what's happening for 1/200th of the time that you are at the track. And it's always in my mind. I'm like, you gotta be kind of dumb to appreciate racing when you're there in person. And it's
you can watch it on a big screen. You can watch it on the big screen where they're not in front of
you. But
hang on a second.
I also find myself, just because I'm very distanced from racing, both as a sport that I would experience or watch on TV, or even things like racing games I'm not particularly a fan of, and so I always find myself being like, they're just kind of going around the track, like, you know. I know you can jockey for a position, but like, really, how hard could it be? Like, that's what the narrative my mind keeps saying. But what I thought was so cool about F1, this particular movie, is that it teaches you kind of naturally over the course of the movie what the different strategies are for F1 racing. And that is when I thought the movie was absolutely at its best. When, you're right, Sonny Hayes is skirting the line of getting penalties, but not quite. He doesn't quite get
Uh-huh.
penalties.
He's finding the loopholes,
Yeah.
he's finding the technicalities. There's no rule that says the golden retriever can't drive an F1 car, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but it is in the races where he's testing the boundaries that I think the movie is at its most engaging. And I was able to really follow along and be like, oh, there actually is a lot of strategy and a lot of teamwork and a lot of
Mhm.
communication and a lot of understanding of the physics of these things and the rules of this sport and the location and the weather, and they're tracking the weather, and they've got like little data points coming from every single
Yep.
molecule of this
Yep.
car. And I was like, that's really interesting. I never thought of
Mhm.
racing this way. And so F1, this movie F1, actually taught me something about why people appreciate racing and helped me to engage with it on a deeper level. I think character work is good. I think all of the actors do a very good job. I think the cast is excellent. I think
Mhm.
writing wise, it's pretty by the numbers, but it's
It's
placed into a
it's
context of
broad.
exciting
Yeah.
filmmaking, which and a good and great cast that makes this an excellent experience with a less exciting directorial hand. This movie could have been pretty boring, but what
Oh,
is here
absolutely.
is just great all around.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that issue pop up again and again. I mean, just a couple years ago with Gran Turismo
Oh,
was
there's
uh
another
was
racing movie
was
we
a
forgot
very
about.
similar.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean that serves your point about the less talented directorial hand, and I think that movie also was just not able to get you in the inside baseball of like the racing industry like F1 is able to
oh,
with this.
definitely, yeah.
Because hang on, I gotta find out who wrote the script. Is it Kosinski and maybe someone else? Let's
He
find out
was
here.
credited as
Uh, e-
story, and then there was someone else that he worked with. Yeah,
Aaron Kruger is
yeah,
the other
Kruger.
story and the accredited writer.
Yeah.
The writer of Top Gun Maverick. Can you
Oh,
believe it? But no, yeah, like they were just so easily and naturally able to like ingratiate you into this admittedly like insular world of like
yeah,
racing where there's a big team and everyone has a very specific job on the
yeah,
team, and there's different tires that they use at different points in
yeah,
the
yeah,
race, and they
yeah.
have plan A, plan B, plan C for how things are going, and then the penalty thing that you were talking about. You learn all these things and you pick them up so naturally. I mean, and that is just a testament to really great screenwriting. The very
Absolutely true.
same kind of like broad, but also just absolutely rock solid screenwriting that we saw in like Top Gun
Yeah,
Maverick,
yeah,
for
yeah.
example.
Because the best part about Top Gun Maverick is how that movie builds to one point, right? You're learning these
Hmm.
small bits of these different moves and the different ways that
Yep.
they're communicating, and then it builds to this excellent
Things that
climax.
need to happen in the final
Yeah,
mission and all this stuff. Yeah.
I will say where I think this movie doesn't stand up to Top Gun Maverick is that it doesn't quite build in the exact same way. I actually think that the
Okay.
race in the middle that leads up to Joshua Pierce's accident, where Sonny
Yeah.
Hayes is doing a lot of skirting the line of penalty, I think that's the best sequence in the movie. I think that's the best race in the movie. That's where I was most understanding, most interested in what was going on, most compelled by the fact that Sonny Hayes seems to be thinking like 5D chess with all of this, which I thought was excellent. The last
Hmm.
race is very good, but I think
Yeah.
it loses a little bit of that like edge that that middle one has that I thought was so distinct. Because the movie
Yeah.
doesn't build in that exact same way. Yeah, there's like some elements of like
Yeah.
learning, like okay, we have to change this one element of the car, and that goes away and then comes back, but like. We're,
Mhm.
we're not using all the techniques we learned from the first
Yeah,
part to do it.
there is not a super clean progression of character and building the car, for example, because the car is obviously also super important
Yeah.
to the story of this movie. There's not a clean progression like that, which I found honestly pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Like, because Pierce has
Yeah.
his accident like halfway through the movie, which doesn't really feel like the point at which that accident would happen, especially in their character arcs. Like they haven't fully
Mm.
learned to like each other yet, and this tragedy strikes the team. You're like, huh, interesting. And then you have this whole section of the film, which is a little bit montage, but also
Yeah. Yeah.
not, where Pierce is out, he's recovering, he's training, and that's where like greater seeds of doubt are being planted in his mind about Hayes taking his seat on the team. That's what it's like.
Yeah.
That's like his biggest fear is having his seat taken in F1.
Yeah.
And then he comes back with like a vengeance, with an even greater sense of like chip on his shoulder sort of thing, which makes for even more heightened drama in the races. And I felt a little bit of frustration in my audience that like when he comes back, that like Hayes has changed a little bit. Hayes has ingratiated himself with the rest of the team, but Pierce comes in with that chip on his shoulder again.
Mm,
I felt a little bit of frustration in my audience there, but I'm like, no, this absolutely makes sense, and
yeah,
honestly makes me more interested in the story and how they're going to come together
sure.
now that Pierce has like he has more of a reason to dislike Hayes because he hasn't fully come to terms with the fact that like
Yeah.
Hayes did tell him to do the right thing in that moment in the race
Well,
just before
because
he
he
had
hasn't
had his accident.
realized, and so this
Exactly.
is let's focus in on this character dynamic because it's really solid. It's really interesting.
Hmm.
Uh, can you give me the name of the actor for Joshua Pierce? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Damson Idris.
Damson Idris. This guy holds his own against Brad Pitt and Javier Bardem.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
What a guy!
Uh-huh.
His uh his character, which I think is so interesting, and why I think I might ultimately find him maybe more compelling than Sonny Hayes, is
Hmm.
his playing the line with being the hotshot rookie that is also media trained. I think that element of his
Yeah.
character is really, really
I
fascinating.
think it's
And
really
watch him
cool.
go from being super angry to reeling it back like immediately on a dime to pulling his like classic like handsome
Yeah,
smile,
yeah,
like
yeah.
pulling on the collar thing. Like when this guy like puts on his smile, you see the layers there of him like putting on this show, but also wanting to maybe gas himself up because he wants to feel more confident in himself. There's this element of personality in the way that he interacts with the other characters that I
Yeah.
think make this so interesting, and it's that self-confidence and self-understanding that this movie
Hmm.
ultimately is actually thematically on a character level, and that's what it's about, is both Sonny Hayes and Joshua Pierce coming to understand their desires different on a deeper level, and then also be able to work together. I mean, that's the obvious thing
Yeah.
of like, all right, you know, you're
Teamwork
not
makes the dream work.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Which does come together in a great way at the end when
Hmm.
when they are working together and balancing in a good way. But when Pierce, when JP, as Hayes calls him, uh,
Yes.
is down for the count and obviously not literally, but like seemingly completely loses contact with the rest of the team for like
Hmm.
2 months or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Him coming back and this doubt being sown is more on the fact that he doesn't know whether or not to believe if it was his fault or not. And so this movie
Mm.
on his character side becomes much more about accepting your own mistakes and accepting that some of the issues might come from you rather than just shifting the blame onto others because it's the seed of their discontent with each other is right from the beginning. They don't like each other for honestly, let's be honest, really no reason. Like they just see each other as assholes like right away. They're just immediately fighting, not
Well,
because
you
they like
know,
they didn't actually do anything to each other. They're just like both
you
very
just
bristly.
they both have big personalities that don't mesh. You know, they
Yeah,
both want to be the a number one guy on the team, and you can't have these two alphas going against each other in the
yeah,
same room. It's just not going to work.
yeah,
But yeah, like that is set up. Like they both have the big personality there. Um, and you're absolutely right. I mean, to the point about like the media training and things like that, I found that to be a pretty interesting juxtaposition between these two
yeah,
racers. I mean,
definitely.
there's a lot of conversation about how Hayes, has been out of the F1 game for like 30 years. He raced back in the 90s or whatever when the landscape was completely
Yeah,
different. And now it's become a international like super like a mega market of
yeah,
media and sponsors and everything like that. And that is how you succeed as a racer. And JP has to learn a little bit that like that's not what it's all about. What is he in racing for? What's in it for him? Like honestly, is it about the fancy clothes and the cool sponsorships and everything like that? Or is it about something deeper for him? Like that's the core of his character arc that he has to learn from Sonny Hayes. Um and yeah, to that point about like his posing and everything like that, this is just a testament to Idris's performance
yeah,
where like at the beginning, it feels like those moments of posing for the media are fueled by a little bit of of like insecurity,
Sure.
whereas when he comes back from his injury, they feel a little bit more out of defiance, like when he gets into that fight and then immediately locks into
Oh yeah, yeah.
the media in front of Sonny Hayes or whatever. He plays both those moments with just a little bit of like subtlety and the reason behind why he's doing that, and I found that really really great.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Tom. I have a question for you about, since we're talking about characters and what they learn or whatever. At any point in the film, is Sonny Hayes wrong?
Tanner, I had this
Because
issue a couple times through the movie. I was like,
yeah,
I thought that it might be more complicated than experienced guy gets things right.
yeah.
An
I mean,
inexperienced guy
listen,
gets things
it's a
wrong.
little, it's a little bit. I mean, it's not even a little bit. It's pretty heavy, like boomer bait in that
Yeah, yeah,
way,
definitely.
where it's like, look at this old guy coming in, showing everybody how it's done, doing it the old
Yeah,
school
yeah,
way,
yeah.
teaching this young buck that the way that he thinks he's doing things ain't the right way to do things.
Yeah, well, there's this
And I
moment.
was waiting for the. Yeah,
There's this
go ahead.
training montage moment where Hayes is he's like doing pull-ups on rusty bars, and he's like eating apples and
Yeah,
like he's doing it the
he's doing
wholesome
it's like
original style way.
it's like the Rocky Ivan Drago training
Exactly,
montage
yeah, yeah,
juxtaposition.
because JP is like he's in the freaking lab, and he's like got
Uh-huh.
he's got widgets and gizmos taped all
He's
over
got
him and stuff.
diodes all over
Yeah,
him. Yeah.
and I thought that might play a little bit deeper into because you can feel you're right the Rocky and Drago
hmm
kind of like dynamic being set up there. They don't really play into that. I thought that maybe there was going to be some sort of element where, and maybe this is true to an extent, but certainly not heavily focused on, where Hayes has to accept that the amount of like technological development and scientific research and knowledge and skill that the rest of the team has accrued but for doing this in the modern age is able to help him. That is definitely true because it is Kate's
Yeah.
car and her understanding of mechanics that
Yes. Kerry
helps them.
Condon's character.
Yeah, which we'll talk about
Yeah.
her. That helps them win. It's the redheaded guy in the chair that's looking at all the different
hmm
things that helps him to avoid slicks or whatever. There is
Yeah,
definitely
yeah, yeah.
this technology base around him that helps him to succeed. But I wish that there maybe had been, to your point, a little bit of pushback from Hayes, like, no, we got to do this the old school way, and then for him to come to learn that
hmm
this is actually something that is helpful and can help him to succeed. Because Sonny Hayes he's just locked in almost the entire time, and he no matter what position anyone else is on the team, he always is like, no, we're doing it my way. We're doing it my way.
Yeah.
It's my way or the highway, the film. That's what they should have called it. And I
Yeah.
do find that on a character level, that's where the movie's kind of one note to me.
Yeah.
Where I
I can see
wish
that.
he
It's
had learned a little bit
mhm.
more from the other people. It makes him feel a little bit flatter of a character, which is why I think I find Pierce to be maybe the more compelling narratively character in the film.
Yeah. I definitely feel that, and ultimately, like you think back to Maverick, and you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, that movie's also kind of that same thing,
Hmm.
but I don't know, it's just a little bit more blatant, I think, in the screenplay for F1. So
Definitely.
I just feel it a little bit more. At the same time, however, like I think what something this film does better in relation to that than Maverick is that like this movie does harp on we've talked about the question of like why you race or whatever, like what is the true calling behind this dangerous profession, and the note that they sort of end on for Hayes isn't that like he settles down with Jennifer Connelly and they fly off into the sunset in not a fighter jet, just a nice little recreational plane. It's a no, Hayes will probably do this until he actually dies out there.
Yeah.
Well, before as he dies in the
Like
driver's
Tom
seat.
Cruise.
Like that's just wait a second. But like that's just who he is
Yeah.
as a character.
Yeah,
I mean, he
and
gets
on
this
a character level
diagnosis
for
and everything.
oh
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah. Go ahead.
on a character level for Sonny Hayes, that's I think the most interesting part about him is
Yeah.
this element that we come to learn that even after his accident, he felt that he had lost his spark for racing, and in order to recapture that, he will get in any vehicle and go whatever speed that
Yeah.
vehicle can go. And I loved learning that about his character. I wish, frankly, we'd maybe seen a little bit more of that. We get a Daytona scene
Mhm.
at the beginning, which Tanner. Here's another thing. I think
Mhm.
that's one of the best scenes in the movie, and I think it actually set
Dude,
a
I mean,
bar that is hard for the other races to clear. Not that they aren't good, but Tanner, that
yeah.
scene, that's got a little Michael Bay spark in it, where there's some crazy shot compositions.
I kind of agree. I think it's the best part of the movie, low key.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's talk about the filmmaking here, because
yeah,
there were moments in that opening Daytona race, which, by the way, you said it was 15 minutes. It is not that long. That is like a 5-minute sequence at the beginning of the movie.
Sorry.
You set my expectations way too like, dude, the first 15 minutes of the movie are crazy. And then
I was in the throes of ecstasy. I couldn't tell you how long it lasted. Could have been 5 minutes. Could have been 30 minutes.
But
I don't know.
I got what you said. My eyes were wide during this scene because the way the camera is moving and these frames are being filled with vehicles and fireworks and things. I'm like, I can't believe what I'm seeing here. There's this one shot, Tanner, I think we're thinking of the same one. 2 cars cresting around the side of this thing, and a helicopter comes like 3 inches above them and fills the corner of the screen, and there's fireworks going off in the background. I'm getting chills right now describing it. It is one of the most electric images I've ever seen in cinema.
When they are just launching fireworks like at the cars, seemingly they're just going off on the ground next to the cars, and you're seeing the reflection in the windshield and the hoods and the rims and everything like that. You're like, holy fuck, racing is so goddamn cool. And then it's all set to fucking Led Zeppelin, Whole Lot of Love. I mean, like, just fucking kill me at this point. I mean, my life is not gonna get better than that. It's incredible.
Really,
I mean, it follows this like one take of Brad Pitt like waking up, and then he does like, remember the memed upon like guy who did the ice dip in the morning or whatever. Did you ever see that a couple months ago on Twitter?
Of course. Yes.
He does that, and I'm like, that's pretty funny. And then there's like one take.
That was not
like,
the intent of the script.
Yeah, well, of course not. I mean, that scene was probably shot like 3 years ago or whatever, because this film has been in production for a long time. But like, he puts on the BMW hat just long enough, but like for the time where the public and the media sees him, and then takes it off and throws it in a pile of different other hats. And then like it's all this one take, and then he hops right in the car. He's like, he woke up like 2 minutes ago, and now he's driving at 200 miles an hour. This guy is the fucking coolest. Yeah,
and it's also low dialogue. It's very show don't tell in terms of what Sonny Hayes is like in terms of personality. He's sleeping in the car. He's like making himself a really crappy breakfast. He's got these rituals where he takes off his watch, puts it in front of a picture of his father. He takes a card, he puts it in his pocket. He's got these rituals, and you learn so much about that character through these character moments and actions, and the fact that he can just get in the car. Like, clearly he's been doing this forever.
A similar ritual to what we see like towards the beginning of Maverick, when he like, he throws on the jacket, and he's got his locker, and he sleeps in like the airplane hangar or whatever. Very similar sort of vibes.
Kosinski's got a type.
Interesting. And like even more so you get his sort of philosophy of racing right at the beginning there too, when like, he's going to be driving for the next like 8-10 hours or whatever, and they're like, all right, Sonny, just take it easy up here, and he just immediately starts like gunning and bobbing and weaving to the front of the pack like as soon as he gets out there. Like, that's exactly who he is that he's going to do things his way, no matter what the nerds and the techs out at the computer screens tell him to do.
Yeah, so to the point of this being one of the best scenes in the movie, I use this as a very slight pejorative against the film, but I do think that in some ways, I think the film gets a little bit worse as it goes. It's a very slight grade, but I think it starts off incredibly strong. Again, I think for me, the middle race before JP's accident is my favorite of the film, and I really like that last one, but it's not on the same level. And I was hoping for something like the trench run from Maverick, where it felt like the filmmaking from that first part and the strategy of the second part combined with the teamwork in the last bit. Yeah, I mean, kind of, but not like I wasn't as blown away by that last part as I wanted to. It's just still, unfortunately, it's really good. So, no.
Yeah. I mean, you get the note that they end on is the, like basically all the music and the noise of the cars and everything drops out, which is really cool. Yeah. He's, dude, I mean, he finally did it. He's flying.
Yeah, yeah,
And then you're just watching him like take the corners and like because it's been set up that like he has this sort
yeah.
of like I don't
Like
know
a
what's going
concussion
on. He's
maybe or
got
something. I don't know.
yeah, he's got some sort of concussion side effects happening, and you're like dreading that he'll clip a wall or something
Yeah,
like that at any given point because the sound has dropped out. But he doesn't, and he fucking crosses that finish line, baby.
yeah.
And it's a little bit of like the old guys can still get it done, but I think they justify it
No,
pretty
it's right.
well
Yeah.
with the JP character being like,
Hmm.
"Hey man, I'm gonna win a million races. I thought I'd
I like
let you
that moment. Yeah,
get one or whatever."
yeah.
It's a good moment.
The last point to end on is the wider character group. We get a lot of supporting characters on the F1 team here. The primary players being Javier Bardem and Kerry Condon, and they're
Hmm.
both excellent. I think that they bring a
Yes.
lot of energy to the film, and frankly, it is. It, I think Brad Pitt is really good in this movie. Again, I think actually Sonny
Hmm.
Hayes is one of the on my tier list, maybe less interesting characters from a writing perspective, but it is what Javier Bardem and Damson Idris and Kerry Condon bring
Hmm.
out of Brad Pitt that makes Hayes as interesting a character as he is because he's a very insular guy. He's frankly like a quiet and in some ways kind of introverted person. And then watching him uh, argue with Javier Bardem, who is just going
Hmm.
all in on this performance. He is,
Hmm.
or getting snippy and flirty with Kerry Condon. Like we get so much
Hmm.
personality out of him because that we've got this great supporting cast to kind of poke and prod him and make sure that even though it is it's my way or the highway the movie
Hmm.
there still are these characters that are pushing back against him and are annoyed by the fact that he's always it's my way or the highway. Now,
Yeah.
frankly, it ends up becoming like, oh well, he was actually right the whole time, so like they shouldn't have been annoyed at him. But you get like the interpersonal dynamic there where you understand that yeah, this
Mm.
guy is correct and is very knowledgeable, obviously, but can you imagine how fucking annoying it would be to be on a team with this guy,
Yeah,
working in
absolutely.
cars and in situations that we see Javier Bardem start to sign these checks like $100,000, $100,000, $100,000,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. He's just like, I guess I don't fucking. I mean, no, like the supporting cast is incredible. Carrie Condon got me giggling and kicking my feet all the way through this
yeah,
movie. Like she's just so damn charming in all of these scenes. She's like bringing out her Banshee's accent, but I'm just, her
her
actual accent,
voice,
of course, but like her voice. But like
her
it's
Friday
just like,
accent, Tanner.
well, you know. But no, she's great, and there is the dynamic that she has that is so, a little a little rife with some sexual tension with Sunny Hayes as well. And but like
That's
there's
a
also
handsome
scenes
man right
like
there.
that's a handsome man. But there's also scenes where, like, when they're out to get a pint or whatever,
Oh
where
yeah.
like she's serving it right back at him with the
Hmm.
bullshit, and the poker scene in the
Yeah.
restaurant when she's like
The poker therapy
making
scene, as I've dubbed it in my own head.
exactly when she's making Sunny and JP like talk about what they have in common, and I like the moment where they both say their dads died at 13, and it's like, oh, maybe we're not so
Different,
different
you and
after all.
I.
Hmm. No, yeah, love Javier Bardem. Like he makes a big impression in the
Yeah.
at the beginning of the movie. Shout out to Kim Bodina.
Oh
He's
yeah.
like the team principal.
Yeah.
He's really great. Like he's like the old guy who's like when he's like Italian or something like that, and he gets his moments where he's like, "Oh, what are you doing to the car, you fucking asshole?" And then at the end, he's like, "Yeah, let's go, Sonny, atta boy."
Yeah.
Like that's just really solid like bit character writing stuff where you have like a beginning point and end point, and it's so gratifying for as an audience to see like him get on
Yeah.
board as well.
And again, that's
Um,
probably
you know what I'll say? One last note. Need more Shay. Where's Shay Wiggum? Shay
oh
Wiggum's at the
he's
beginning. Need
barely
more
in the
Shay
movie.
Wiggum.
Yeah, he's barely in the movie.
I know.
Um,
I love Shay
in
Wiggum.
terms of the cast, the last one that I feel like need to talk about on a script level is
Hmm.
I don't even know where he is in the cast list. Whatever. He's the business guy. He's the investor guy who's the villain of the movie.
Tobias Menzies as Peter Banning.
Yeah, is that him? Um,
Yeah.
do we really need a villain for this script? Uh, the
Oh, you know,
by the end of the
you
movie,
needed
I think that his inclusion, I think he's actually one of the worst performances in the movie. And I think
Oh,
his
really? Okay.
inclusion by the end just muddies the water in a way. It's like, okay, so hold on. So his plan is to sabotage, but to keep him on. So he's unhappy when they're winning, and so we keep getting back to him, and be like, ooh, that's great for me, but
yeah, you gotta have somebody. I mean, ultimately, I understand it from a screenwriting perspective. As like, you want to heighten the drama, you want to heighten the comeuppance of the movie.
Yeah,
like,
but I
you
don't
need
think
somebody who's cheering against the team because you don't really have a like rival racer
no,
in the movie.
we don't
There's not
have
anything like
characters
that.
external to the team, frankly.
Yeah, because a lot of it is they're banking on like, hey, these are like the actual guys. Look, there's Lewis Hamilton. Look, there's Max Verstappen.
Yeah,
Look, they're all here.
for a second, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they showed up on set
exactly.
for 2 days. But
Exactly.
I think that's just for the complication and the tension that it adds. It is very minimal tension because I'm never convinced that anything is going to happen in his favor because he's not a character that the script establishes to be
Fair point.
particularly interesting or
Yeah,
complex.
he sort of just pops up towards really as a presence, like a little late in the movie. I think I see your point.
Exactly, yeah. And also it's not like it's this big rallying point where, okay, because this is going to happen, because this is what would happen in another sports movie, right? The money man, the dollars and cents guy behind it is telling you, the team, you have to be this way, but then all the team can rally together because they want to stick it to that guy. None of them know, except for Sonny Hayes,
No.
that any of this is happening, and so it ends up feeling like it's a partial motivator for him, but even then, not really. Like kind of, but not big enough to where it's like,
Yeah,
that's his sole thing.
it's.
And
I think it's
because no
another
one else
issue of
knows,
what
it's
we-
like, well, I feel like I feel like I'm beefing with this guy rather than anyone else beefing with this guy.
I think it's another issue of the boomer bait, the Sonny Hayes is always right thing that we are talking about. That like he's the guy that has the whole picture and understands all the stakes of what's
Fair
going
enough,
on
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in retro, I just hit my mic. My bad. In retrospect, I think you can look at that and point and laugh a little bit. It was like, this is pretty heavy-handed, like boomer bait. I'm sorry I keep using that word, but that's honestly what it feels like to me. But in the moment, it's just so damn exciting to see
Oh, of
like
course,
that
yeah.
that rich asshole like get his comeuppance
Yeah.
or whatever. I was mostly distracted by the fact that I was like, I just saw that guy in an episode of Game of Thrones I just watched before coming here. That's what I was mostly thinking.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Tanner, why don't we wrap this up with a score for F1 the movie? I'll use his full Christian name here at the end.
Tucker 9.3.
Tanner? 9.0. That's a great movie. Must see. Big recommend. Incredible filmmaking. Joseph Kosinski. Maverick was not a fluke. This man has the sauce running through his veins. And I highly recommend people go see it and talk to us about it in our Discord server, which I didn't plug at the beginning, if you'd like, or leave comments with your thoughts on it. But thank you for watching.